Today we're talking about guilt and a mind who loves to use guilt to torment you, to punish you, to keep you feeling bad or negative about yourself. We're going to look at this and dissect it a little bit about the kind of mind and the habits that this mind is in, that it would love to keep using guilt as a form of control, as a form of capturing your attention, which we know now that it needs. It needs your attention. A mind that uses guilt is a critical mind. So if you're suffering from guilt, you are suffering from having a critical mind. A critical mind is afraid of making mistakes. There's a fear around making mistakes, because if I make a mistake, there's negative consequences, or there's consequences that I don't like that shed a negative light on me and open me up to judgment, which is what your mind becomes. It becomes the judge, it becomes the criticizer, it becomes the very controlling essence that thinks everything must be done perfectly. It usually learns this from a mind outside of itself, watching a parent, watching someone else who is entirely so critical and hard on themselves. So you adopt this mind. You learn how to do this to yourself. It's all a form of control. Trying to keep yourself from doing something that would be seen as a failure, because there's a very strong fear up under all of it around failure. I cannot be a failure. I cannot be a failure, because then I will be looked at or be judged in a negative light. And maybe I grew up around people who talked really bad. I listened to them talk really bad about people who failed, or people who didn't make something of themselves, or people who didn't do it right, or people who did things or were stupid or were dumb, or whatever the terms you heard. So a very big fear grew in you. Don't be that. Don't be that. Don't look like that. Don't smell like that. Don't do anything that would possibly make you look any of those things that you heard as you were growing up, and that you heard being criticized and judged and looked down upon. So think back if you've had any of those experiences. I'm trying to show you the origin of where this critical mind comes from and why it uses guilt in the way that it uses guilt. It is trying to control you, to put pressure on you to do everything in a certain way, because it wants to hold the identity of, I've got it all together. I know what I'm doing. I'm a success. I do things perfectly. I have the perfect life. There's nothing to look at here. I've got everything going on. And there's nothing to be judged. But the thing is, other minds, if they want to judge you, they're going to judge you, no matter what you've done or not done. But what you're doing with the guilt is your mind, not you, your mind is judging you constantly. It not only judges you about things going on in your present experience, but mostly those 3 a.m. torment sessions have to do with what happened in the past. How you didn't do it right in the past. Or something that you did, and your mind, you keep thinking, oh, I need to let this go. Well, it's not you that won't let it go. It's your mind that won't let it go. Your mind will not let that event go, because it knows it can use it against you to get your attention, and to get you to feel all those horrible feelings and suffer with it and get tangled up with it And that's its main objective. The mind wants to possess you and hold your attention. And it knows it can use that situation or whatever happened in the past to hold your attention. Oh, I should just forgive myself. It's the mind that is holding the thing over you. It is not you holding it over you. If you can separate out and see that the mind is the part holding on to it, the mind is the part that keeps bringing it back up to you, the mind is the part that won't let it go. And instead of saying, I should forgive myself, what is more productive is to say, I should make peace with whatever the threat is. I should make peace with, oh, what if I am like those people that I heard my parents or people around me growing up judge other people for? What if I am that? I mean, what if I'm seen in that way? What does that really mean? Nothing. What if I'm seen as the bad parent? I am. Can you make your peace with being both? Sometimes I'm a good parent, sometimes I'm a bad parent. The critical mind is terrified or terrifies you around making mistakes or doing things in what it calls wrong. It wants to do everything right and perfectly all the time. That's the game that it wants to play. It does not want to do anything wrong, and it can't even conceive of it. It can't even allow it. It is that afraid of it. But if you can make your peace with saying, you know what, sometimes I'm the good guy and sometimes I'm the bad guy. We all are. We all play both roles. We all, if you're in the game, which we all are, we're all walking around in a physical experience. Even when we do nothing, another mind can perceive us the way they need to perceive us to have the experience they need to have. Does that mean we've done anything or done anything wrong or done anything to hurt them? Not necessarily. Their perspective of what's going on, they needed to see what they needed to see, to feel what they needed to feel for their soul to grow. That's the game they're in. Other minds are going to see what they need to see. You're going to play the role of bad guy sometimes in other people's life, especially if they need to be the good guy. A good guy needs a bad guy. A victim needs a villain. A right person needs a wrong person. That's just the nature of the game, and sometimes you wear the black hat. You're not always the one in the white hat. But for a critical mind, a mind who terrifies you over making mistakes, that everything has to be perfect, wants to wear the white hat all the time. No, I can't wear the black hat ever with anybody. I must do it perfectly, or I will be judged, or isolated, or unloved, or criticized, and I can't have that. Does that really hurt? I mean, think about it. I mean, I know that's the emotion it's trying to avoid, but no, we don't like it. But really, to my kids, I've wore the black hat. I've wore the white hat. We're all souls. We're all souls playing a game together. No matter what you came in as, the parent or the child, we're all in this game together. Just souls, all equal, all perfectly fine, all okay, but we're attached to a mind that wants to play a game. So we're going to do things to one another. Things are going to happen. We're all in every moment making the best decision off of the knowledge that we have in that moment. In hindsight, do we always think, oh, well, I could have done better? Well, sure. Of course you could in hindsight, but you didn't know then what you know now. I hope that through this that you get something out of it that helps you understand what your mind is doing when it is putting under you the pressure of guilt, the torment of guilt. Guilt feels horrible. I'm going to make a meditation for sleep. I'm going to do a sleep series, and guilt is going to be one of the things that we're going to do a hypnosis visualization for sleep so that can help during those 3 a.m. Let's go down into the basement of our toddy mind room and feel bad about every single thing we've ever done. That's the mind is waking you up, getting you out of bed, saying, come here, come look at this. Give me your attention on something you cannot change, you cannot control, and let me torment you over it. And all it does is feeds the mind. It feeds that unhealthy habit. It gives it power, and it torments you. So I hope something here has helped today, and we'll talk about this topic of guilt more in the future.